Coast Guards of United States, Japan and Philippines hold their first trilateral maritime exercise in the South China Sea. The exercises were held in the waters of Bataan province. As many as 500 Coast Guard personnel from the three nations participated in the exercise. These included counter-piracy simulations and interception drills. Its purpose is to increase interactivity between the nations' Coast Guards. Iran presents its first domestically made hypersonic ballistic missile named Fateh. The missile was unveiled at a ceremony attended by the President Ibrahim Raisi. Last year, the Islamic Republic said that it had built a hypersonic ballistic missile which can maneuver in and out of the atmosphere. China's first homegrown large cruise ship, Adora Magic City, undocked from a shipyard in Shanghai. The ship has undergone a series of tests. The 323.6-meter ship can accommodate up to 5,246 passengers. The ship is expected to start commercial operations by next year. China and Russia conducted a joint patrol over the Sea of Japan and East China Sea. This is the sixth time after 2019 that both conducted joint patrols, prompting South Korea to scramble fighter jets. According to China's Defense Ministry, the patrol was part of the two militaries' annual cooperation plan. South Korean military has claimed that 4 Chinese and 4 Russian military planes entered South Korean air defense identification zone. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said that the Chinese and Russian aircraft entered the zone and exited. However, they did not violate South Korea's airspace. The entry is being suspected after the defense chiefs of South Korea, United States and Japan highlighted to strengthen trilateral security cooperation during the Shangri-La dialogue. Diplomats from the European Union and the United States arrived in Pristina on Monday as part of efforts to ease tensions between Kosovo and Serbia following last week's unrest in Kosovo's northern region. Senior US diplomat for the Western Balkans emphasized obeying the letter of the law and harmony between ethnic groups. A political crisis that has spiraled into violence in Kosovo's north has intensified since ethnic Albanian mayors took office in the region's Serb majority area, a move that led the US and its allies to rebuke Pristina. A group of European Union justice ministers met in the Belgian port city of Antwerp on Monday to discuss better coordination in tackling cross-border drug-related crime. Last year, a record 110 tons of cocaine was intercepted at the Belgian port, accounting for 40% of all seizures in Europe. Belgium's justice minister said that EU countries shared a concern about rates of drug-related violent crime, necessitating a coordinated response. The European Union's top court has ruled that Poland's 2019 justice reforms infringe the bloc's rule of law. The ruling came as bloc's executive branch argued that the Polish Supreme Court lacked the necessary independence and impartiality to rule on the matter. Poland introduced a law in 2019 that prevents Polish courts from applying EU law in certain areas and from referring legal questions to the European Court of Justice. The Luxembourg-based ECJ has now said Poland's ruling law and Justice Party's judicial reforms were damaging the independence of judges and undermining the rule of law. People gathered on the beaches of Normandy in France to mark the 79th anniversary of the D-Day landings. World War II veterans are commemorating the D-Day to honor the soldiers who took part in the landings on the 6th of June in 1944. It was when Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy as they began the liberation of German-occupied Western Europe. People arrived in period military uniforms on the sands that claimed the lives of thousands. To commemorate the 79th anniversary of the D-Day landings, French President Emmanuel Macron was joined by Léon Gautier, the last surviving member of the French commandos. These commandos defended Hitler's troops in 1944. Gautier was one of the 177 French Green Berets who took part in the Normandy landings. Clashes erupted in Nantes as protesters marched across the western French city. People have been protesting against the government's plans to raise the retirement age to 64. The riot police fired tear gas canisters after protesters threw projectiles at them. Millions of people have been demonstrating and joining strike actions since January to show their opposition to the bill. A massive blast has been reported at a Soviet-era dam in Russian-controlled part of southern Ukraine, unleashing floodwaters across the war zone. Ukraine and Russia have accused each other of blowing up the dam and causing widespread flooding in southern Ukraine. The dam was built in 1956 on the Dnipro River as part of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. The Kherson governor urged the citizens to leave houses and start evacuation. Hundreds of people were evacuated from settlements along the Dnipro River after water burst through the breached Nova Kakhovka Dam. With water levels surging higher, many people are likely to be affected, and evacuations on both sides of the front line have started. The Taliban governor of Afghanistan's northern Balkh province died in a suicide attack. The attack was claimed by the Islamic State group. The bomber rammed a car filled with explosives into the car in which Nisar Ahmadi was travelling. Ahmadi was the acting governor of northern Badakhshan in the provincial capital Faizabad. In Kenya, people are protesting against a proposed finance bill that would hike taxes on fuel, housing and digital content. Kenyan police fired tear gas in the streets of Nairobi to disperse the crowd. 11 people have been arrested. According to the protesters, the new finance bill will pile more economic hardships on ordinary people. Members of 32 indigenous communities from the north of Argentina gathered in Buenos Aires to camp in front of the presidential residence, Casa Rosado. They aim to ask for recognition of their ancestral lands, to receive better health care for young children and to access basic services. They are expecting to be received by some government representative. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to embark on a 3-day visit to Saudi Arabia. He has called for the normalization of ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Blinken is expected to arrive this evening in Jeddah. In the next 2 days, he will be in Riyadh for a ministerial meeting of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Members of the 80-strong coalition of countries fighting the Islamic State group will also meet in Blinken's presence. Besides his diplomatic counterparts, Blinken is expected to meet with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Saudi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman met with Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro upon his arrival in Jeddah. During the meeting, both sides reviewed bilateral relations and various prospects for cooperation and opportunities. Maduro's visit showcases the kingdom's willingness to enhance diplomatic relations beyond Western alliances. A man entered northwestern Indiana jail and started a small fire which was quickly extinguished. The footage from the Lake County Jail in Crown Point showed a man entering the lobby of the jail and pouring the accelerant from a container and lighting it into a trail of flames. However, no injuries were reported and there was no major damage. Thousands of women staged a sit-in protest outside Colorado's capital in Denver. They called out the state's Democratic governor, Jared Polis, to ban guns in the state. The protest is organized by Here for Kids, which advocates the end of gun violence. A 3-year-old Palestinian boy who was wounded by Israeli gunfire last week has died of his wounds, according to Palestinian and Israeli officials. The victim's father said that he, along with his son, were driving to visit relatives on Thursday when their car came under fire from nearby soldiers. Israeli army said soldiers returned fire after 2 suspected Palestinian assailants opened fire against the settlement near Amallah in the West Bank, and that the toddler was wounded despite military's very effort to avoid non-combatant casualties. A year after the murders of British journalist Dom Phillips and indigenous expert Bruno Pereira, deep in the Amazon rainforest, friends, relatives and admirers gathered to call for justice and protection of indigenous lands. Phillips and Pereira were on a trip to the remote valley near the border with Peru. Days later, a fisherman who had confronted indigenous patrols in the area confessed to killing them. Police have said that the alleged leader of a local gang planned the murders because Pereira posed a threat to its illegal fishing operation. South Koreans visit the Seoul National Cemetery on Memorial Day to commemorate those who were killed in wars. The Memorial Day is dedicated to soldiers who lost their lives during the Korean and Vietnam War. People bring food and alcohol drinks as offerings to their loved ones and bow in front of the gravestones to show their respects. Tech giant Apple has unveiled a range of exciting new products and upgrades. The showstopper is the highly anticipated augmented reality headset called Vision Pro. It is the company's first major new product since the Apple Watch in 2014. This gadget is going head-to-head with the other AR headsets like Meta's Quest and Sony's PlayStation VR. It will cost $3,499, 3 times higher than the Meta's priciest device, and will be available early next year. Brazilian President Lula da Silva unveiled a plan to end illegal deforestation in the Amazon. This is a major step in addressing the country's significant carbon emissions from the region. The strategy will be implemented over 4 years, which will provide a roadmap to achieve the goal of halting illegal deforestation by 2030.
Nós precisamos dizer aos madeireiros
At least 42 people were dead in Haiti after torrential rains triggered flooding and landslide. Dozens went missing and many were injured throughout the country. According to the United Nations, the severe rains affected over 37,000 people and displaced some 13,400. Over 13,600 homes are also listed as flooded. The distressed population in the country is in urgent need of food, drinking water and medical help. The floods have destroyed many homes and damaged several roads. The floods come as an added disaster, causing additional problems for people and authorities of the country. A thick cloud of pollution hovered over the skyline of Chile's capital, Santiago, on Monday. According to climatologists, Santiago is South America's most polluted city. Chile's health minister says that the number of cases of respiratory diseases in children has increased over the last few weeks. To avoid the spread of seasonal disease, authorities have asked people to adopt measures such as constant hand washing and the use of face masks. Canada is facing an especially severe wildfire season this summer and could be on track for its worst ever year of wildfire destruction. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said blazes are burning in nearly all Canadian provinces and territories, and federal government officials said their modelling shows increased wildfire risk in most of Canada through August. By Sunday, about 3.3 million hectares had already burned and more than 120,000 people had been at least temporarily forced from their homes.